Picture this. It's the first week of January. You've still got a leftover candy cane on your desk, your credit card balance looks like a phone number, and you're scrolling TikTok half numb when you see it, some guy proudly saying, "I'm doing a full no-buy year. No clothes, no restaurants, no Amazon, nothing. I'm only spending on rent, groceries, and bills." He looks excited. The comments are cheering, and you're sitting there thinking, I can't even get through one weekend without DoorDash and Target. How am I supposed to not buy anything for a year? If you've ever felt that mix of guilt and FOMO when you see these no-spend challenges, this video is for you. Because today I want to talk about no-spend months, no-buy years, and something newer called loud budgeting, and I want to show you how to use these trends in a way that actually fits a real American life, not just a perfectly edited social media feed. By the end of this, my goal is simple. You'll know whether a challenge like this makes sense for you, how to design one that doesn't blow up in your face, and how to use loud budgeting to protect your money without losing your friends or your sanity. Hey, I'm Dylan from Dylan Investments. Money Talks, I translate it for you. Let's sit at the kitchen table and unpack what's really going on with all these challenges, because under the trends and hashtags, there are some powerful ideas that can completely reset your relationship with spending, especially if the last few years have been a blur of swipes, subscriptions, and I'll figure it out later. First, let's strip away the hype and define what we're even talking about. A no-spend challenge is usually a shorter window where you commit to not spending on anything that isn't essential. That might mean 30 days where you only pay for things like rent, utilities, basic groceries, gas to get to work, and medications. A no-buy year is the extreme cousin. Same idea, but for 12 months with a list of things you're banning. No new clothes, no gadgets, no beauty products, no random Amazon browsing at midnight. Loud budgeting is different but related. It's not about spending nothing. It's about being unapologetically vocal about your financial boundaries. Instead of, I can't go out tonight, you say, I'm not going out because my budget for eating out is tapped for the month. Here's where it gets interesting. None of these ideas are actually about money first. They're about power. They're about you feeling like you have some control again in a world where prices keep creeping up, everything is on subscription, and your phone is basically a vending machine you carry in your pocket. A no-spend challenge or a no-buy year is your way of saying, I'm not going to be the default customer for every brand on earth anymore. Loud budgeting is your way of saying, I like my friends, but my goals come before peer pressure now. Let me tell you about a guy I know. We'll call him Alex. Alex is in his early 30s, lives in a mid-sized city, decent job, not rich, not broke. Over the last few years, he fell into what a lot of people fall into, small, constant lifestyle creep. New iPhone on a payment plan, streaming services he forgot he signed up for, eating out because he was tired, new clothes because a coworker made a comment once about his shoes. Nothing crazy on its own, but at the end of every month, his bank account felt like a crime scene. One night, after seeing someone talk about a no-buy year, Alex snapped a little. He declared, I'm done. No spending on anything fun for the next 12 months. He wrote a dramatic list, posted it online, got a bunch of likes, and felt amazing for about 2 weeks. Here's where things quietly went wrong for Alex. His rules were so rigid that normal life started feeling like punishment. He said no to every invite. He felt guilty buying a coffee, even when he was exhausted and needed to get through work. When his sneakers finally fell apart, he wrestled with himself for 3 days before replacing them. Eventually, one bad day at work turned into a forget-it moment. He bought a bunch of stuff online, felt like a failure, and just dropped the whole no-buy thing completely. That's a really common pattern. All or nothing challenge, small failure, then shame, then total collapse. If you only remember one idea from this video, make it this. Extreme rules are great for social media, but your brain, your emotions, and your real life usually need something more flexible. You don't win a money game by being perfect for 3 weeks. You win by being consistent for years. So if we're going to talk about no-spend and no-buy challenges, we need to design them like something a real human with a job, stress, and relationships can actually live with. Before we build that, I want to zoom out for a second and talk about why these challenges are so appealing right now. You're not crazy for feeling like money slips through your fingers faster than it did even a few years ago. Rent is up, groceries are up, gas jumps around, and wages often lag behind. On top of that, companies spend billions of dollars to pull you into frictionless spending. One click buy now, pay later, try it free for 7 days. Your phone is a 24/7 shopping mall with personalized billboards aimed straight at your brain. No spend and no buy challenges are a backlash to that. They're like a hard reset button in a world that constantly pushes you toward yes. Let's go back to you at that kitchen table. Imagine for a moment that for the next 30 days, every time you feel the itch to buy something non-essential, coffee out of a random Amazon gadget, another pair of joggers, you don't buy it. You write it down. Just that. That's what a well-designed, no-spend month can start as. Not punishment. Not, I'm a bad person if I slip up. Just, for 1 month, I'm going to pause the automatic spending and watch my own behavior like a scientist. Because the real value of these challenges isn't just the dollars you don't spend. It's the data you get on yourself. Here's the twist. Most people try to do these challenges from a place of shame and self-hate. I'm so bad with money. I have to lock myself down. That usually leads to burnout. A better way to think about it is as an experiment. You're not trying to prove that you're disciplined. You're trying to discover what triggers you, what you actually miss, and what ends up not matching at all when you remove it for a while. That mindset shift alone can make the difference between a challenge that crashes and one that changes your life. Now, remember that moment when you opened your bank app and felt sick, wondering where your paycheck went? This is the exact mechanism behind that feeling. It's not always one giant foolish purchase. It's the tiny, automatic, mindless purchases stacking up all month. A no-spend challenge breaks that autopilot. You're suddenly very aware of the little stuff. You feel the choice again. Instead of a swipe you barely remember, you get a pause and a question. Do I really want this? Or am I just trying to feel better for like 5 minutes? Let's bring loud budgeting into the picture, because this is where it gets surprisingly powerful. Loud budgeting is basically you saying out loud to real people in your life, I'm trying to be more intentional with my money, so here's what I am and am not doing. It might sound like, I'm saving aggressively this year, so I only go out to eat twice a month now, or I've got a debt payoff goal, so I'm skipping expensive trips for a while. It's not you whining, it's you setting expectations. And honestly, it's about flipping the script. For years, the flex was spending. Big dinners, new car, fancy vacations. Loud budgeting makes saving and discipline the flex. I have another friend, we'll call him Jason. Jason used to say yes to everything. Bachelor parties in Vegas, birthdays at overpriced restaurants, concert tickets he didn't really care about but bought because everyone is going. By his mid-30s, he was exhausted and thousands of dollars in credit card debt. One year, he decided to try something different. He didn't go full no-buy, but he sat down, made a rough budget, and then told his friends, hey, I'm getting serious about my money. That means I'm cutting way back on going out. I'll still come sometimes, but if I say no, it's not personal. I've got goals. That was his version of loud budgeting. The first few times he said it, he felt awkward. A couple of friends joked about it. But over time, something cool happened. People started respecting it. Some even copied him. And his spending dropped because he wasn't trying to quietly keep up anymore. Here's where most people never see the deeper benefit. Loud budgeting doesn't just save money. It forces you to live in alignment with your real priorities instead of other people's expectations. When you say out loud, I'm not buying new clothes this year because I want to build an emergency fund, every time you're tempted by a sale, you're not just breaking a private rule. You're going against something you've publicly claimed matters to you. And social pressure can work for you instead of against you. So, what does a smart version of these challenges actually look like if you're sitting in a regular apartment somewhere in America with a normal job, maybe some debt, maybe kids and a brain that gets tired sometimes? If I were in your shoes and I wanted to do a no-spend or no-buy challenge that doesn't crash and burn, here's where I'd start. I'd pick a time frame that feels challenging but not insane. For most people, that's a month, maybe 3 months at most. A full no-buy year can work, but it's like training for a marathon when you've never run a mile. You can get there, but start smaller so you actually learn how you respond. Once you've picked a time frame, I look at categories, not just a blanket, no spending. You still need to live. So you define what counts as essential for you. Basic groceries you cook at home, rent or mortgage, utilities, transportation to work, necessary medical spending, basic phone and internet. Then everything else is wants. Eating out, subscription stacking, impulse Amazon buys, clothes, decor, gadgets, beauty products, entertainment. You might decide that for your challenge, you're not buying anything in one or two big want categories, and you're reducing or pausing others. Maybe it's no clothes and no tech for 3 months, and I'm cutting restaurants down to once every 2 weeks. To keep it from feeling like a prison sentence, I'd also give myself a small fun budget inside the challenge. A tiny, pre-decided number that I can use however I want without guilt. Think of it like a pressure valve. Maybe it's $20 a week. Maybe it's $50 a month. The point is, you know the number ahead of time. That way, when your brain starts screaming, we never get to have any fun anymore, you can say, relax, we've got a little room to breathe. We're just not mindlessly swiping. That alone can cut down on those forget it, I'm done binge moments. Now, let's weave loud budgeting into this so you're not doing it in secret. I'd pick a few people in your life who tend to impact your spending decisions. A partner, close friends, maybe certain coworkers. And I'd tell them something simple and specific. Not a 30-minute speech, just a couple of sentences. Things like, I'm doing a 3-month reset on my spending. I'm not buying any new clothes or gadgets, and I'm cutting way back on eating out. I'll probably say no more often, but I still want to see you. Let's do more hangouts at home or cheaper stuff. Now you're not the flaky friend. You're the friend with a plan. This is the part where things get a little uncomfortable, but also where the real growth happens. Some people will support you right away. Some will tease you. Some might even feel weird because your changes shine a light on their own habits. That's normal. But here's the key. If someone truly cares about you, they'll get used to the new script. If someone constantly tries to pull you back into overspending even after you've explained your goals, that's data. That's information about how much influence they should have over your money decisions. Remember that feeling you get when you see everyone posting about trips, fancy dinners, and new stuff, and you start thinking, I'm behind, I'm missing out. I want you to imagine flipping that feeling around. Imagine instead you're the one quietly smiling because you know your money is finally going toward things you chose, paying off that high-interest card, stacking an emergency fund, investing a little for your future. That's the long-term payoff of these challenges. Not bragging rights that you didn't buy shampoo for a year. The real flex isn't deprivation. It's direction. Let's talk about a trap I see people fall into with no spend and no buy challenges. Using them as a way to avoid doing the boring foundational stuff. It feels exciting to say, I'm not spending anything for January. It feels less exciting to say, I'm going to make a realistic budget and automate a fixed amount into savings every month for the next 5 years. But the second one is what actually changes your life. So think of the challenge as a spotlight, not the whole show. Use it to see your patterns clearly and free up a little cash. Then take what you learned and build a sustainable system that keeps working when the challenge is over. Here's a simple way to connect the challenge to your bigger goals. Before you start, decide exactly what the money you don't spend is going to do. Maybe it's paying off one specific credit card. Maybe it's the first chunk of your emergency fund. Maybe it's finally starting an IRA or investing in a basic index fund. The reason this matters is because your brain needs a why. When you're tempted to break your rules, being able to say, if I say no to this one thing, that's one more brick in the wall between me and panic when my car breaks down, is way more motivating than I'm just not allowed to spend. Let me give you another mini story. There's a guy I heard about, early 40s, 2 kids, decent income, but always on the edge. He did a no-spend month and saved a little over $600 just from cutting restaurants, random online shopping, and impulse convenience store runs. Instead of letting that $600 just sit in checking, he used it to start his first real emergency fund. It wasn't huge, but the feeling of seeing an actual buffer between him and disaster changed how he saw himself. He went from, I'm bad with money, to I'm the kind of person who can build a safety net. After that, he didn't need a hardcore challenge every month. He used the momentum from that one experiment to build better habits that stuck. Here's where this gets really important emotionally. A lot of people are carrying quiet money shame. Maybe they got into debt young. Maybe they overspent trying to impress someone. Maybe they just never learned how any of this works and feel embarrassed by that. Challenges like no spend, no buy, and loud budgeting can easily turn into self-punishment if that shame is driving everything. I want you to flip it. Instead of, I'm doing this because I suck with money, try, I'm doing this because I deserve to not live in constant stress anymore. You're not punishing your past self. You're protecting your future self. Now I want to circle back to that original kitchen table moment. You're staring at your bank app, trying to figure out where it all went. Imagine that 30 days from now, you've done a no-spend challenge your way. You kept essentials. You set realistic boundaries. You were loud about your goals with the people who needed to hear it, and you directed the money you saved into something specific. You have a few more dollars sitting in savings or a smaller balance on that card. But more importantly, you now know your biggest triggers. Maybe it's late night scrolling. Maybe it's stress after work. Maybe it's social events where you feel weird saying no. That knowledge is gold. You can design your life around those triggers instead of pretending they don't exist. In the middle of your challenge, there will be a day where you really want to quit. Long day, you're tired, you want comfort. That is the moment to remember why you started. Remember that sick feeling when your card got declined or your balance was way lower than you expected. Remember that version of you who was so frustrated they clicked on a video like this. That version of you asked for help. You're now the version who can give it. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can say to yourself is, we're not doing that old story anymore. If you're listening to this and thinking, okay, but my problem isn't lattes, it's that I don't make enough, I hear you. No-spend challenges cannot fix low wages, broken systems, or unfair rent. They're not a magic wand for everything wrong with the economy. But even when income is tight, regaining some control over the part you can influence is still worth something. Cutting waste, setting boundaries with people, and aligning your limited dollars with your highest priorities can make a tough situation a little less brutal and give you more leverage when opportunities do show up. When this video ends, if you want to try this in your own life, you don't have to make a big announcement on social media. You don't have to go extreme. You could just grab a notebook or a note on your phone and decide, for the next 30 days, I'm going to press pause on these 1 or 2 categories and watch what happens. You can pick one person and practice loud budgeting with them. You can choose one specific goal to send the savings to. That's it. Nothing fancy. Just a small, deliberate reset in a world that's constantly pushing you to spend without thinking. And here's my last little rehook before we wrap up. Remember that version of you who's been afraid to look at their card statement, who tries not to open bills right away, who feels a little hit of anxiety every time the phone buzzes with a payment due notification? These challenges, when done wisely, are not about making that version of you feel worse. They're about ending that chapter. They're about trading chronic background stress for a short, focused season of effort, so future you can breathe a little easier. If this made a few things click for you, save this video so you can come back to it the next time you're tempted to either go all in on some extreme challenge or give up on changing it all. And if you want to go deeper, the next thing I'd suggest is learning how to build a simple, realistic budget you can actually stick to, not just for a month, but for years. That's where the real freedom starts. I'm Dylan from Dylan Investments. Money talks, and I'll keep translating it for you. Have a good one, my friend.